See, basically, we want to implement our project in an MVC way, correct? No? So in that, we have this controller here. So ultimately, what we will be doing, we are developing a controller inside this particular controller instead of a main method. So we're going to annotate this particular controller with a REST controller annotation. Okay, and then inside this, we're going to start writing the mapping methods. Okay, as of now, let's complete this case study and then we'll convert this project to our RESTful application. So now this particular controller is nothing but my main Java main method. Inside that, I have an access to my service object. Okay, so my service object implementation is here. So it's a basically it's a class implementing this particular interface. So in this interface, we have the methods like create wallet, get wallet by ID, add funds to wallet, fund transfer, and login. Okay, let's take an example of create wallet. So when we call this create wallet service method, it depends on my wallet repository object. So we are creating an interface, call it wallet repository, and then we are implementing it. So when we look at the DTO, sorry, whenever we look at the DAO package, we see that there is a repository interface and there is an implementation. So here where we have to do this add wallet. So adding a wallet is nothing but inserting some value. So basically we need a DAO utility so that we can get connected to our database. So let us go quickly and create one wallet database. So let me go to the workbench. This is my user root. So these are all the various schemas available. I'm just creating one more schema. I'll call it as wallet application. I created this schema called wallet application. Inside this, I need to create a table now. Or let me just create this table using a query here, guys. So I'll just say use wallet application. Then I'll say create table wallet. And also I would like to create it as per my requirement here. So I need to store ID, name, balance, password, and a creation date. I want to create the ID. Balance. Password. And then I need a creation date. I'm making this ID as a primary key. So my data table got created. So let me describe my wallet.
Sir, in creatable
टेबल का नाम
wallet spelling is incorrect. Just miss.
हाँ हाँ, ये तो वैली बन गया। ठीक है, हाँ ठीक है। So you can see this is my table structure. Okay. So now what I'm supposed to do, I need to create one valid utility class so that I can insert some data there. So let me just take that utility from our previous code. So this is our DAO utility. So in this particular DAO utility, I need to change this to our schema name. Correct? No? So our schema name, what we created is wallet application. So then user is root, and password is also root. So now in my wallet repository, I need to get that particular connection. Let me just refer the code here, guys. So this is my repository. Let me put it down so that I can easily refer. Basically, I want to create this particular connection. Okay. Connection is equal to DAO utility dot get connection. Let me import this connection. So then I need to go for this. I'll use the abbreviation so that we can make it faster. So PS equal to connection not repair statement. So here I need to write the insert query. Insert into valley. Then I need to say values. There are 4 parameters from me. If you want, you can also make it more specific here by writing the order, ID, name, balance, password, and creation date. So now I want to set these values. So let me just go for these prepare statement dot set. I want to set the integer value here for index 1. I want to get it from my wallet dot get. Similarly, ps dot set string. So the index is 2. Here I want to get the wallet dot get ps dot set string. So third parameter I want to send. Third parameter is my balance. Correct, no? Okay. Balance is there. Wallet get balance. It's not a string, so that's why it is giving me error. So set. So we have a set float. So still we have some error. What is this
It's a
error?
double.
So it's a double.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Set string. Oh. Wallet dot get password. So I think we need one more thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is there. So we need to put one more question mark here. ID, name, balance, password, then creation date. Okay, it's not getting converted into date format. See, set a date is expecting us a date format. So do we have something like local date? We don't have that particular format. So now let's see how we can convert into a local date format quickly. So हमको चाहिए this conversion basically. So let's choose something which is quite easy for us. So basically you guys can see here things are getting converted into from local date to date and date to local date. So can you see here? So in this particular date class, we have value of method that will going to convert your local date to date format. Especially he is using this date class from this SQL package. Taki, this one should work out with your SQL database. So now we just convert it into our date format. We got one message from our Sonar link. So let's check what is that. Okay, it is unable to fetch that rule. So what are we trying to do? So we are trying to insert into wallet. So these values, and ultimately, finally, I want to execute it. Okay. So because it's an insert statement now, so I will be going to get a response back from that particular SQL. So after setting these values, I'm going for execute. So I'll go for ps dot execute. Update. So my execute update, we know that it is going to give me. Okay, why it's not showing? Okay, it's going to give me the number of 1 second. 1 second. So I don't explain these things, guys. If you get any doubts, please ask me. So add wallet has to return a Boolean value. So let me take one Boolean value also. I'm taking on Boolean. Is valid added equal to false. If this is the situation, I'm going to make it true. Otherwise, we need to handle the exception. I'll do it later. So I'll just do else. So I can make a note here. So to do is a message for us to complete this task. So to do is exception handling. So I think we need to handle this exception, SQL exception. So here actually we are just printing on this particular message. So let's write that also. We need to handle that. Here we're going to return new is valid. Let me format it. So this is my add wallet, guys. So this is my repository in which I try to complete my add wallet repository method. So this particular class has one add wallet method that I'm going to call it in my service. So whenever you go for okay, sorry, not this. So this is my wallet service called create wallet. So I have the wallet repo ready. Then I have one method called as this is wallet repo dot add wallet. If send me the wallet information, I should be able to add it to my database. And I should be able to reply you with a Boolean. So this is the method I should call from my controller. Controller will call create wallet. My create wallet will going to call the add wallet from my repository. We go to the wallet controller. Let me use that service. Wallet service dot create wallet. Let me create the object of the wallet. Let me give the ID, some ID equal to 1. One second, guys. Give me a minute, guys. Okay, guys, you guys can watch. I'll be adding this particular wallet information to my database. Guys, you can observe here that data got added here. Correct, no? So what does it mean? So we want to do the development in an incremental fashion, no? So one of my API is ready now. Okay. Suppose this using this create wallet, I want to write a test case. So how do I do it? So this is my test folder. This is my package. This is my test class. So I would like to write one test case. So what is the test case I'm going to write? So this is my create wallet. So create wallet. This is my test method. So I need some test data to write a test case, correct? No? So for example, I want to write a test case for my service layer. Correct? No? So what I do, I will create wallet service is equal to new wallet service implementation. Because I need this object, you have done the implementation of this class. You have implemented this particular interface. So I want to test your methods, what you wrote. So I'm creating the object of it so that I can call it and test it. So I get the wallet service here. So let's write some assume here, assume statements, assume not null, assume, I'm not getting assume, okay. Assume not, assume false, assume true. 1 second, guys.
Sir, I think it's assert not null.
Sorry?
Assert not null. Assert not.
No, I don't want to assert. I want to first I want to check my assumptions are correct. So this particular wallet service should be not null, no? I'm writing the assumption. So I want to validate a given assumption first. So I want to validate that my wallet service is not null. Okay. Then I would like to write my assert statement. Assert not null. So basically, okay, let's say, for example, I want to assert that assert. So if I go for a create wallet method, it's going to give me, it should return me true, let's say. Okay. So call the wallet service. So that is create wallet. Okay. So let's say I am writing one method, one validation in my implementation. If this wallet object is null, then I'm going to return false, let's say. Okay. So, but I've not done any validation, guys. So for example, here in this create wallet, I can write if my wallet, okay, is equal to null, I would like to return false. Okay. So let's assume that this is also one of the requirement. Okay. then it should return me false. So it's asking me to handle this exception. Let me put a try catch here. So one of the assert is assert false. So it should give me false whenever I am sending a null value. So let me write one more assert. It should send me assert true whenever I'm sending a new object of my valid. So I have to give an ID. So let me give ID equal to 1. So let me give name, test name 1. I have to give a balance. I need to give a password. I need to give a date. So I'm checking for these two valid conditions, guys. So we know how to do this testing as well. So it is asking that it is not finding the JUnit platform. I'm just in the run configuration. I'm adding the JUnit 5 configurations. I'm applying and then I'm running it. So you can see that it got failed. Let's see why it is getting failed. So assertion failed error, expected true, but we got a false value. Okay. So let's check what happened. I think the ID 1 is already there now. So that's the reason we could not execute that. Correct now? 1 second, guys. So basically, guys, so this particular valid ID already exists now. So that's why it is returning me false. So it could not insert this particular data record there. So let me add true there and let me try to run this test case. So I want to run JUnit test cases on this. Okay, still I'm getting, what is this error? Okay, let me quickly add that breakpoint there and let's check it what is happening there. So initially valid is equal to null, so it is returning me false. Now the valid is an object now. Valid is not null, so it should go to add valid. So add valid is going to return me Boolean. So we have not taken any variable here, guys. So it should directly giving the return value directly to assert true. Okay, it is telling me that this create valid is giving me a false value. How come? Let's see. So in my repository, this is my add valid. So initially it was false. So now let me go to the database and do this. Okay, in fact, it is not getting added. What the message we are getting is correct only. Okay, let's try to add it. Okay, when I run it as a normal program, it is able to insert. Whereas in my test case, it is not able to insert. Let me see what is going wrong. Let me add a breakpoint here also. We'll do one thing. We'll try to catch our global exception as well. And let's try to print it because we are not able to get to know. So there are other exceptions than our valid exception. That's why we are not able to get to know that. Let's write that. So v dot get message. This is our first test assert. So in the second time, we have a valid here. So now we are getting into add valid repository method. So we are trying to get the connection there. Okay, you can see connection object got created. Insert into Valley. You can see that my prepared statement is correct. ID, name, balance, password, creation date. So let me step over. Okay. So basically we did not, SQL exception has not happened for us. Otherwise it would have executed this for us. So this particular insert statement did not return any result. Means it has not inserted. That's what it is trying to say. So that's why it is returning me false here. Let me try with a new. I'm assuming that my test data is having the same ID. So let me make it 3 and let's try. As of now, this is my data. So first assert, valid is null. Resume. Second assert. So I can also check my valid information here. So your ID is 3 now. Is this query correct, guys? Guys, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
ये तो query तो correct है ना? Not audible, sir. Am I not audible, guys?
Sir, you audible.
Okay. I'm just showing you that particular statement, prepare statement is ready for the insertion of my data. So it should happen. Oh, it's not giving me more than 0. That's why it is returning me false. So let's see. Okay, it is coming to true now. So it is returning me true. Let's resume. Now you can see, because sometimes some unexpectedly my editor might behave, or my Eclipse might behave. You guys can see that it is now giving me that this particular test case has executed successfully. Okay, guys. So let me stop. I think yes. I think it has got terminated also. So like this, guys. So before I conduct any test, I should be able to create my own test data. And after the test, I should be able to clear this test data also. Correct? Now, because you created this test data, you're supposed to remove this data also. Okay. So now what I can do, I can write one method to delete. So anyhow, we have a database in our service, we have one delete method. Sorry, in our repository, we have one delete method. No, yes, delete valid by ID. Let's try to implement this so that we can clear that data. Okay, so now let me remove this to do comment. Implement that very quickly. So I'll just copy these things, guys, from my previous program. So delete by ID, I'll get the ID, guys. So in my prepare statement, let me change the value of this is valid added. Instead of that, let me refactor it. I'm not suggesting you to copy and paste. I'm just, to save my time, I'm doing this is valid. Delete from valley. Where ID is equal to question mark. So here we are getting the ID directly. So we are not getting the object of the valid. We are getting the valid ID directly. So what we do, let's remove this. Let's get it valid ID. Then let's execute it. Then if it gets executed, let's make it true. Otherwise, we will send a is valid deleted equal to false. So you can see delete valid by ID should delete my valid. Otherwise, if it is true, it should return me true. Otherwise, it should return me false. Let's try to implement that in our service, guys. So service method, there is a delete. Okay, do we have a delete valid? Okay, in our service, I think we did not add the delete valid by ID. So there is a create valid is there, get valid by ID is there, add funds, funder transfer, and login is there. So let me add one more method. Boolean delete valid by throws my valid exception. So let me implement that unimplemented method. This is my delete valid by ID. So I'll call the service valid. Sorry, I'll call the valid repo and I'll ask it to delete the valid by ID. So this implementation of my repository is done. That's why in my service, I'm calling this method. So let me go to the controller. So now I want to test, or I want to check whether my method is working. I want to delete the ID2. So go for valid service. Call the delete valid by ID, pass the ID2. So when if I run it, it should be able to return me true or false. Correct now? So now if I run it, so I'm not printing it. So if you print it, I think it has already deleted my valid ID2. Let me check it here. Okay, you can see valid ID is not no more there. So suppose if I run it again, so of course it should return me false. You can see valid ID delete valid 2 is false. Suppose if I give the, it should be able to delete it. So if you can observe here, this is my test database now. So you can see in my test database, there is a record 3. So I want to delete this record 3 here. So you can see record 3 got deleted successfully. This is my record 3. So in my test case, what do I do? So I should be able to write a method, or after doing this test, so I should be able to delete the records. Correct? Huh? So what is the deletion I would like to do? So for example, I should be able to tear down my data. For example, here, as soon as I create this, okay, so I can also call a method called my valid service dot delete valid by ID equal to 3. So I can clean up it like this. Otherwise, I can also write one more method called as, so I have one annotation called after each method. Correct now? I have one after each. In this, let's say that we would like to delete my test data. Public void cleanup. In this cleanup method, I would like to do this. Whatever test data you have created, you shouldn't be able to delete it off. So you have this valid service. So from this valid service, so this, okay, handle exception, put that exception here. So if I run the test case now, after running the test case, it should be able to delete that test data. You can see here, create valid is successful. Okay, and after that, it would have deleted your data as well. So now let's go to the database and check. Am I clear, guys? So it is the responsibility of a programmer to create the sample data, as well as after testing, you should also remove the sample data or test data. Is that clear?
So what is after each annotation?
Oh, that's a good question. You should do your self-study, man. Who is it? You're not working then. You're completely dependent on me. I have given you all these demos. What are you doing all these days? Abhishek. You're asking me what is it? What you did? When did we complete this J unit? क्या कर रहे हो आप? No, I think I'm asking the right question. Correct, na guys? Do you support me or you want me to repeat it? Answer me, guys. I think you guys, do you need a break? Guys, please respond.
Yes.
Okay, anybody here knows what is this?
Annotation. So after each test,
Annotation.
हाँ, ये तो annotation है, ठीक है. Then,
after each test, it will be also.
हाँ, after each test case, it will execute, no?
Yes, sir.
हाँ, so we called it as a life cycle method. Okay, so after each of these test cases, whatever number of test cases you write, it will get executed. Otherwise, we have one more method called after all. After all the test case gets executed, finally it will you can do the cleanup process. Guys, let me set my expectation very clearly. Whenever we are done with any new topic, so whenever I give you time for your self-study, you are supposed to do that. It is not your free time so that you can relax. You should put your efforts from your end also, and you should be thorough with those topics. That's why we do a discussion. No? Every day morning I'll ask, is there any questions for me? The purpose of asking is to check whether you have studied, you have done a self-study, and while doing it, have you got any doubts? So I want to help there. Okay, now whoever asked me this question, please correct yourself. So and please do the self-study every day after the session gets over. ठीक है ना?
Okay.
सही बोल रहा हूँ ना?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Because see, we all humans now भूल जाते हैं हम, easily भूल सकते हैं ना? Because it's not I may not that much serious, or I may not be listening very carefully, or at some time I'm not blaming you also. Sometimes there might be a network glitch and you're not able to hear it properly. I do consider all the scenarios. So that's the reason I want you guys to, once again, if there is a glitch, you watch the video, and also whenever you see any demo program, you also please go through it. Whenever you get an opportunity, you should check it. See, I've told you how to check it. So you don't know anything, you just take your mouse pointer on that, on top of it, you will be able to read the documentation. Okay, please make this habit, guys. Right. So like this, so I just now completed 2 of my functionalities. My first functionality was create method, and similarly, this is my delete method. So similarly, guys, so let me complete all my repository methods so that I can perform some functionality there. So the next thing, next repository method I would like to take up is get valid by ID. So let me get the connection. Let me do the job here. Okay, I think 1 second, guys. So we had done this before. Let me take the help from that method. So we have this method called as select statement, no? Select star from this. I think most of the things I've already done it in the previous demo, guys. You guys would have done it very easily. So this is my table and this is my object. Oh, sorry, that is my reference variable. Equal to question mark. This is my wallet ID. So I'll try to execute this particular query. If I get the result, then I'm going to make it assignable to my wallet. So wallet get result ID. Then I would like to insert name. Then ID name, then balance, password, and creation date. This is my balance. Just extracting from a result set and putting it to my constructor of my wallet. So then I have a password. So let me just see what is the constructor I have in my wallet. Sorry. So ID, name, balance, password, and then the creation date. It's in the same order, guys. ID, name, balance. This is password. Then I have a creation date. See, I'm also doing the mapping, guys. So this is my attribute name from my database. So that's why I'm giving creation D is capital here. So if you do any spelling mistake also, it will not be able to fetch and assign. Okay. So this is get double. Okay, this is not get double. So this is get date. So this is not get double. This is get string. So and then this is get double. Okay. So it is thinking that int string double string date is undefined. Okay. So again, this particular date I need to convert into local date, guys, now. Uh, Local date dot 1 second, guys. So if I go for date and value of, then it will get converted into date format from local date. So now what we want from date to local date, we want to convert it back. So let's do the conversion here. Local date dot. So it is a value of method, value of. Okay, we are not getting that. 1 second. Can we convert vice versa? So what we can do is, so in date class itself, we have, if we get the object of the date, we can convert it into two local date method. Using this method, we can do the conversion, guys. So let's do that. That means so from our result set, so get the date. So from the date, you can get two local date. So we get the creation date, and that particular creation date will be a date object. Look at this. So this I want to convert it to local date. Okay, then my object will get created. Okay, so now what else? So this is not employee exception. Okay, we had done that exception there, guys. Okay, so this is our. Okay, we have not completed our valid exception class. So let's complete that valid exception class. I just want to create a simple constructor here, guys. This message, I would like to pass it on to my constructor. I don't want to have any data member here. So this becomes my constructor. Okay, let me format it. So this is my get valid by ID. You're going to give me the valid ID. I'll select star from valid, where valid ID equal to question mark. I'll set the valid ID, whatever you're going to set. I'll execute. Then if I get a result set, I will create an object of the valid, and I'll pass it on to the constructor, get the valid. So then I'm going to return you if everything goes well. Otherwise, I've also done the exception handling here. So that means it will going to throw you an exception. So let's go here. Let's call the service this. Okay, not this. Once please. My wallet service dot get wallet by ID. So let me just check in my database which wallet is there. Guys, are you following? I have a wallet only, wallet ID 1. Guys, are you able to follow?
Yes, sir.
So I want to call the wallet service get wallet by ID 1. So what will happen? So it will go to the service. So let me traverse you. So hold the control button, go to the implementation. So it will all execute get valid by ID in my service. So this is my your service implementation clause. So what I need to do, I need to call this dot get valid by this dot valid repo dot get valid by ID. So let's look at the implementation of my repository. Go to click on the implementation. So this is what we did in the get valid by ID. So it's showing all these because I copied something now. So that's why it's showing me all these things. So let me remove this. Let me format it. So let's execute. Okay, successful connection. But the thing is, it is displaying me like, it is displaying me the hash code. It is not able to display me the object of my wallet because I did not add toString method here. Correct? Now it is not able to print me the state. So now let's try to add that toString method here. Because I don't have a method to represent my state in a string format. That's why I'm not getting this output. So let me rerun it again. You can see ID is 1, name is 1. So this is my test data. Is this clear, guys? So now let me try to write one method, or let me try to retrieve a wallet 2. Let's see what we are going to get the response. So I think it should have given me the wallet exception and it would have printed me wallet exception, but I don't see the exception. Let's see why we did not get the exception. Okay, get wallet by ID. So we are passing on this to our repository. So when my repository executes this query, so this should be false and I should come to this statement. So let me put a breakpoint here and let me execute my project in a debugging mode. I think, oh, sorry. I should right click. I should go to run as and run as JUnit. Sorry, 1 second. I should debug and I should run as Java application. I want to debug this particular situation where I've executed select star where ID equal to, let's look at the prepared statement. Okay, this is my first statement. I'm trying to get the first employee here. So let me resume this. Okay, it's not at all coming to my second statement here. Go back. So it should come here also, correct? No? So let me go for debugging. So prepared statement is for getting a valid by ID 1. So this is fine. Let me resume. If you can observe, my statement is not at all coming here. Okay, what is going on? 1 second, guys. So we are going for this call. Let me step over. Let me resume. Okay, something is happening. It is not at all coming back to my this particular statement. Okay, guys. So let me just comment this for time being. Let me go for debugging once again. So you can see I'm trying to get the ID by 2. So now if I step over, so now you can see it's coming to my valid exception. So if I step over again, so now you can see it has come to the exception. If I step over, it should print me valid not found for ID 2. This is what I was expecting, guys. So perfect. But unfortunately, it was not executing the statement. Okay. So now let me rerun it again. Let's see. So you can see I'm getting the exception message, valid not found for ID 2. This is my custom exception. Yes, you can see it is also retrieving me valid 1, and also it is telling me that valid not found for ID 2. Okay, guys, so draw the methods. So I have an update valid pending. Let me quickly update that valid once. I think all of you would have completed these DAO methods, correct, guys? Am I right? Guys, can I get your response? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think I'm right now. You guys have completed successfully these repository methods, right? Yes or no? Why there is no, there is a lot of silence. So this is your fifth parameter. So I'm setting that to fifth parameter. So ID I don't want to touch. So this is my first parameter where I will be updating the name. So and then the second parameter would be my balance. Third parameter will be my password. And fourth will be my creation date. So then I'll execute it. Key is valid added. So I just want to change this name as per my requirement. It should be is valid updated. So initially it will be false if it gets updated. So it will become true here. Otherwise you have to handle the exception here. Okay, update valid is returning the valid object. Okay, no issues. So what I need to do, so for example here, if it's successful, okay, so then I can retrieve that valid here, and then instead of, okay, so it's not a Boolean response, guys. We have to send the object of the valid itself. So let me create a valid instead of this. Valid updated valid. Initially it is null, let's say. So I want to send you the valid information. So if everything goes successfully, then guys, what you can do is, actually this is the valid information that you are trying to update. So you can assign as of now, if you want, you can get it from your database and then you can assign it if you want. So that's what happens in our framework. So but as of now in our implementation, let's just assign that update valid is equal to the valid information that you are sending. Because it's successful now, so that's why I'm trying to assign whatever you are sending. I'm sending you a confirmation that the same valid got updated. Okay, right. So and also here, guys, so it is updating the entire valid here. Okay, right. So let me format it. Let me check whether it is getting updated or not. So let me go here. All one method. So valid service dot update. Okay, I don't have a method for checking my update, guys. So in my service, I don't have a update method. You can see I don't have such method here. So to test that, I can also write one test case here. At the rate test. Public void update valid test. So this will become more interesting for me now. So what I'll do is that equals. So what is that expected value? Let's say there is a record. Let me just check what all the records available. Okay, there is a record like this. Okay, I will get the record. I'll make sure that this record exists. Okay, I will write. I'll go for my valid service dot. I'll say get valid by ID 1. Okay, so it should return me the valid object. You can see. Okay, let's handle this exception. So this should return me the valid object. Okay, so if that valid exists, so it should be. So let's check the ID of this dot get ID. So it is returning you the valid now. So on that object, I can call the get valid by ID. So the valid ID should be 1, let's say. So you should have that aptitude to write the test cases. It is up to you how you want to test whether that particular valid is getting updated or not. So I'm making sure that that valid exists. So you can also go for assume. Your assumption should be true. Instead of assert, you can also go for assume. It should be true. I'm assuming that get valid by ID 1 exists. Okay, if that exists, then only this test case will get carried out. So now I want to assert. I want to, let's say I want to do the updation. Okay, so what I want to update, so I'll go for valid service. Please, can you respond me? Are you able to follow? Guys, are you there? What is happening?
Yeah.
Are you guys able to follow?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. See guys, see my valid service, I don't have that particular update method, correct now? So what I do, I will create my valid repository also here. Valid repository. Valid repo is equal to new valid repo implementation. So this valid repo implementation, we want to test it. So you can write a separate test case. So this is a service test now. So you can also write a separate test case. So let's not write it here. You can create one more class. Call it as valid repository test. inside this, you write this test case. Instead of wallet service, you go and call this wallet repository. Wallet repository. Here I want to check the update wallet. So I want to update a particular wallet information. Let's say, suppose we have get the wallet here now. So what I can do, I can also do it outside this. For example, I can say wallet update wallet is equal to this. Let me import this wallet from DTU. So try to read this. So I'm getting the wallet information by get wallet by ID. Okay. So then I want to update some information about this particular wallet. So update wallet is there. So update wallet dot, I want to set the name to a different name. What is the current name, guys? Let's check it. The current name is name1. So I would like to make it as a new name1. Okay, and then I would like to update my wallet. Okay, once I update this wallet, so what are you returning me? You are returning me this wallet object. So that wallet should contain this updated name. So what it should be equal to? So my updated name should be equal to this. I'm passing the wallet to be updated. And once it returns me wallet object. So from there, I will get the name and I'll cross check it that it is equal to this particular updated name. So I'm doing the update. Okay, I'm calling the update method. So this is my previous value. Okay, I'm getting the object of that particular wallet and I'm changing some of the values. I'm calling the repository update wallet. So once it returns me, it should return me that the newly updated name. So this is how I'm going to write this test case. So now let's see, there is some error is there. Okay. So now let me run these test cases, guys. So let me go to run as the unit test. So you can see my update wallet is also working successfully. Okay, instead of here, I can also, after doing this update, I can also do one more thing, guys. All of you please observe here. I can call this get wallet by ID once again. Okay, and then I can check assert equals, this is my new name. I'm showing you various ways to do that. So this should be the name. From your updated wallet. Do you understand this statement, guys? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
अपडेट तो किया, बाद में क्या कर रहा हूं, गेट वैलेट करके उसको नाम को चेक करो. So it should be updated, otherwise it will going to fail. So let's rerun the test, please. You can see update wallet is getting successfully executed. It is foolproof because get wallet by ID. I'm getting that wallet. I'm just checking whether it is updated or not. Let me go to the database and rerun it. ये देखो नाम बदल गया. ठीक है ना? So guys, we are ran out of the time. Can I take 5 more minutes and show you how to implement my fund deposit? Guys, can you do that?
Yes, yes, sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. Add funds. Let's say I want to implement this. Add funds to wallet. ठीक है ना? So ये wallet ID है, ये amount है. ठीक है? पहले क्या करना है? Look at it. So my service implementation becomes more interesting for me. Because हमारा what I am supposed to do, I have to find this wallet first. Correct? No? Wallet. Found wallet is equal to. So I'll take the service this dot wallet repo dot get wallet by ID wallet ID. So पहले उसको पता लगा लो whether that ID exists in my database or not. If something goes wrong, exception हो जाएगा. I think in this repo we have not declared the exception. Okay, get valid by ID is throwing an exception. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, if it throws also, we are throwing back to the column. So that's why it is not asking me to handle it. Okay, so now suppose assume that I have found the wallet. So what I'm supposed to do? So I have to get the balance here. Double old balance is equal to, so from the found wallet, you have to get the balance. This will be your current balance. So what I can say, so this will be your, let's say this is my new balance. So new balance is equal to old get the balance plus your amount. ठीक है ना? So right now, what is the balance in your account? And for that balance, I'm adding your new amount. This is your new amount, or I can also make this as a deposit amount. So let's make it more readable. I think deposit itself will make sense. So let me make it as deposit. So what I'm supposed to do, I have to update it to your wallet. So there is a found wallet. So found wallet, I should set the balance to this new balance. So this object is updated with the balance, but is my database got updated? No. So what I need to do, I need to call this dot wallet repo dot update wallet. And also when I do the update wallet, it is returning correct now. If everything goes fine, I should return you the new balance here. Let me return you the new balance. But of course, my object, my entire wallet object is available for me to update, but I'm responding you with a new balance here. So if you want, according to your requirement, you can return whatever you want. As of now, add funds to wallet, it will return you new balance. So look at the business logic, guys. Any questions here? Get the wallet by ID. If it is found, get the current balance, add a deposit amount, and you create the new balance and set it to the wallet. And then that wallet should get persisted into the database by update wallet repository. Is this add funds to wallet clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So similarly, fund transfer. So now can you guess how we are supposed to do this?
Add balance from wallet ID to the wallet ID.
Ah, perfect.
Deduct from
So
the
you
previous
need
one.
to, yes, get wallet by ID. You have to do it from wallet first. इसको पहले हासिल करना है. Again, you have to do wallet is equal to this dot get wallet by ID to wallet ID करना है. Exception handling, I'm not doing any exception handling, guys, here. Okay, if it is not found, you have to handle it. So from B मिल गया, to B मिल गया. So now I have to check whether the from wallet has got the enough balance. Correct now? So let me check if from wallet got get balance is sufficient. How do I check the sufficiency? It should be greater than or
Than
equal to amount. Very good. My amount. So I can also make it more meaningful by making it as withdraw amount. If it is greater, you can of course go ahead and subtract. Correct now? Otherwise, you should be in a position to throw that exception. So new wallet exception, the message from wallet from wallet. So if everything goes well, then what I'll be doing, I will be deducting the amount from you, and I'll be trying to deposit to the wallet too. So before doing that, I can also check whether this wallet 2 is not null, because get wallet by ID is going to give me the object of the wallet. Okay, so I can also write one condition here.
सर if के साथ ही and में लिख दो.
Yeah, I can also do it separately. See, I have to make sure that this wallet exists. Okay, then I have to make sure that this wallet exists. Then I should check whether it has got a sufficient balance. Correct now? So you need to think logically in what order you want to process the data. See, straight away, if I say you have an insufficient balance, does it mean that wallet 2 exists?
No, sorry.
No, no. So think logically. You are the implementer, no? So आपको think करना पड़ेगा logically. Okay. So I want to make sure both people exist. Then I want to check this guy has a sufficient balance. Then I would like to deduct and add it to the second wallet. So let me check here. Both of them exist here. If from wallet is equal to null, I'm assuming that if it is null, so new wallet exception from wallet does not exist. End user को पता चलना है वो from wallet account नहीं है बोल. 1 second, guys. Similarly, guys, I'll also check for true wallet. If it is null, I will say true wallet does not exist. Then I'll check your balance from wallet. So otherwise, So I'm going to tell you this. So what is my logic here? My logic should be, so I have to deduct that amount. Correct. No? So now let's find, let's take one variable, double. Okay, 1 second, guys. Yeah, double balance is equal to from wallet dot get balance minus amount, that is withdraw amount. Can make this as new balance. So this amount I want to deduct from the from wallet, and as soon as that the from wallet, I want to set the balance to new balance. Okay, so I have subtracted this amount from the from wallet. So I have to add this balance to the to wallet also. No, I can use the same reference variable. So naming convention problem either is equal to small n1i. So now let's use this same new balance. I'm reusing the same variable here to get to wallet
So
information.
we
To
can
wallet
direct set the balance to new balance plus the previous balance.
new balance.
To wallet dot set balance to new balance plus.
कर सकते हो. I'm just showing you the steps, that's all. What he's saying is, so in the set balance itself, you just add this. Correct now? Yes, of course, we can do this here. ABTK. So I'm just showing you guys in your thought process, step by step आपको करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, पहले उसको अमाउंट को डिडक्ट कर रहे हो, बाद में उसका बैलेंस सेट कर रहे हो. ठीक है, राइट. टू वॉलेट गेट द बैलेंस, उसको ऐड करना है. Okay, sorry. Okay, this is withdraw amount. No, fund transfer amount. No? Let me refactor this. Transfer amount इसको ऐड करना पड़ेगा. ऐड कर रहा हूँ. So then टू वॉलेट्स को अमाउंट को सेट कर रहा हूँ. So I'm using the same variable, guys, here to set a new balance for from wallet and set a new balance to wallet. So once I'm done with this, I'm supposed to do one more job here. That is, I have to call my repository, this dot wallet repository को call करना है, and I have to update my wallet. And also I have to call this dot wallet repository, and also I have to update my to wallet also. So you should ask me one right question now. Suppose if I'm successful in updating the from wallet, but I fail to update the to wallet, then I will not be doing an addition of my amount to the to wallet. So that means there is a failure in my application. Correct now? Either both should happen or both should not happen. Okay. So इसको technically हम बोलते हैं transaction. ठीक है. So as a single unit, so this entire function should become successful, or this entire operation with respect to my database should fail. So this we call it as a transaction. Okay, guys. So we can also execute these as transaction methods in our SQL, but let's try to handle this in our Spring framework. So Spring framework में we will get direct access to this transaction. So we'll be able to get this transaction done with the help of a transaction module in our Spring framework. Okay. Okay, समझ में आया? Why we need a transaction, guys? Either both of them should succeed or both of them should fail. ठीक है ना?
Sure.
Okay, because I don't want my amount to be deducted. If it gets deducted, at least it should be there in the, at least if I'm buying something from a Flipkart. So the Flipkart should tell me that it received the money. आपके बैंक से पैसा कटा हुआ है, Flipkart बोल रहा है नहीं आया है पैसा, then what will you do? Automatically after some time it will get refunded, no? Have you observed, guys?
Yes, sir.
So how they will do this? They will do this using transactions. So हम पढ़ेंगे इसको, ठीक है? ठीक है ना?
So that's why you write both the update statements in the last, right?
Sorry,
Like
both.
you wrote both the statement in the last, sir. But we can also write the update statement of from wallet after the updation of from wallet, sir. Before
Okay.
two wallet updation. And you wrote both the statement in the last, sir.
No. See, suppose you are cooking something, you will cook it in some order, na? So similarly, you have to process your data in certain order. Correct, no? So what you're saying is, so can we do this? So कोई फर्क नहीं है. Logically, both are correct only. But I have to make sure that both statement will get executed. Am I right? So इसको पैसा ऐड कर लिया आपने, but कहाँ से ऐड किया? इससे ऐड करना है ना? Otherwise, both people will have money. बैंक को नुकसान हो जाएगा.
Sir, can we write 52th line after the 40th line?
After 40th line. 40th line में क्या है यार?
48, sir.
48.
No, now 49, sir. Now 49.
Oh, sorry. After
From
कहाँ पे
wallet
अभी?
dot set balance.
हाँ?
From wallet dot set balance after this line.
इसके बाद में. Oh yes, you can write it. No, फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा ना. You wanted to do this.
But sir, if there will be any issue in the two wallet, then from wallet will be updated and two wallet will not be updated.
But okay, see, I just wanted to do it in my mindset. What was right, step by step. I'm trying to process it. So, but logically, this is also correct. क्या भी फर्क ही नहीं पड़ेगा. So as a whole, both my entire function should succeed or my entire function should fail. ये भी same काम ही करेगा. No issues in this. Yes, you can write it like this also. It doesn't make any difference, no?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So what I'm supposed to return? I am supposed to return the Boolean value. Okay, let me take one Boolean. Oh, Boolean होगा. अभी his amount transferred is false है. पूरा खत्म हो गया. Let's say you make it equal to true. नहीं तो false ही रहेगा. So let's see whether we have two accounts. So then we can do some fund transfer. I think we don't have two accounts here. So let me go to the controller. So let me add one account, guys, quickly. So create wallet. Create wallet 2 करके. So in wallet 2 I have 100 rupees. In wallet 1 I have 1000 rupees. So I want to call the wallet service. Then I want to do the fund transfer. So from wallet ID 1 to wallet ID 2, I want to send 500 rupees. If you want to print, you can also print it. Okay, let's execute. Okay, so I've not executed this particular return statement here. Let's go and check it in our database. Okay, something did not work. Let's see. Let me save this file. Let me rerun quickly. It is telling me wallet not found. Yes, that's correct. Am I deleting anything? No, I'm deleting the ID 3 here. Okay, 1 second. Guys. So let me go for debugging. Okay, wallet ID is it's telling me that it is not there. But why it is not coming to this line?
सर दूसरा वैलेट नहीं है साथ में.
No, the thing is, yeah, as soon as there is an exception here now, it is going to this catch statement and it is printing and it is getting terminated. So वही दिक्कत हो रहा है. So let me just comment this. ठीक है ना? So a valid not found है. That means it is coming to this exception. It is not executing my this statement at all. Okay, that was the issue. Okay, now let me just check it. What happened? Still it is coming like this. Why? 1 second.
सर फंड ट्रांसफर करने के लिए दूसरी वाली आईडी भी होनी चाहिए ना सर.
ID 2 create कर रहा हूँ ना. This is create wallet. One तो पहले ही है. So ID 1 is there. Okay. So now I think it's done successfully. So I'm not logging it properly. So now let's check it. So you guys can check it here. So my wallet 2 had 100 rupees. My wallet 1 had 1000 rupees. So it has deducted 500 rupees from here and it has added here. So let me comment this now. So I want to do the transfer from 2 to 1, 500 rupees. Okay, let me run it. ठीक है ना?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, guys. So up sub, I think you understood. If you have any questions, you go through this demo program and let me know. And you guys can start working on the test cases and also please complete the exception handling.